Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're just gonna jump right into it. No crazy intros or anything like that. That way this video is more of a walkthrough and less of a voiceover. So I just want to show you these tips right here. I believe it's pronounced Unagella, and I get these off of Amazon, and I always come back to these because they are my favorite. I purposefully tried to snap them in half just to show you how durable they are, but it's really difficult to do. Now, realistically speaking, if I were to have a crazy freak accident where I smash my finger or something like that, then yes, they can break. But for everyday type of thing where you're doing chores or going to work back and forth, they're not going to break. They are so incredibly strong. So if you're looking for a good Gel X tip, trust me, these are the ones for you. Now, I'm not going to get into too much detail about how I apply my Gel X tips because I did just make a video about that where I went into way more detail about how I apply them, the process, how I like to blend them, which is really important if you want a seamless blend when you're doing polish, like gel polish over them and not putting builder gel on top. So if you want to check out that video, I'm going to try and link it in the top corner. That way you can just click it and go right to it because it's really useful, especially if you're just starting out and you don't know how to apply your Gel X tips. Otherwise, I'll just briefly go over what I'm doing here. So I take my Beetles nail glue and I put a thin coat of glue on my nail plate. I put another thin coat of glue on the back of the tip, and then I will take the remaining amount of glue that's left on the brush and just swipe downward. It shouldn't be too much glue. Keep in mind though, everybody does have a different size nail plate, but a good point of reference when it comes to applying your Gel X tips is that less is more. And the reason I say that is because before you cure the tip, you'll be able to see that you don't have enough glue, whether it be because air bubbles are forming or because the glue itself hasn't reached the free edge of your nail. And so that's a good indicator that you can go back in and add more glue. But if you already have too much glue, now you have to clean up the glue that's flooding all over your skin. And we want to avoid any glue or polish touching the skin as much as possible because that's how you develop allergies. So after my Gel X application, it was time to cut these babies down. What I really want to try though is the magnetic tip cutter. Please, somebody let me know if you've ever tried those before, because a part of me feels like they would help me. Another part of me feels like with my luck, I would just end up with different nail lengths anyways. So I'm curious to know if anybody has tried them. Please let me know if you like it, don't like it, recommend it, don't. And if I do end up getting them anyways, I'll definitely record myself trying it out and let you guys know if it's worth it too. Right now, I am just going to shape the free edge a little bit and get rid of that little nick that's left over whenever you use your tip cutters. And I'm using my Tammy Taylor peel and stick nail files. So if you've been struggling with your shaping, let me put you on to these nail files right here. These nail files, I first discovered them by V. V is like the OG content creator when it comes to nails on YouTube, and she used these files all the time. Her channel is called V_nailed it, I believe. And what I love about these nail files is how strong and durable they are. What I mean by that is if you've gotten the really cheap ones off of Amazon where they're like $5, $150 to a pack, you know that those nail files, you can bend, twist, and break them any which way. And with the Tammy Taylor nail files, you don't get that problem because they're so durable. They're gonna make sure that you have an even amount of pressure from the sidewall all the way down to the free edge, and that's how you're gonna get those really sharp, crispy corners that you want and are not gonna get with the cheap ones, because the cheap ones will start to bend right towards the free edge, and that's why your free edges are probably looking a little bit more round instead of sharp. So if you're struggling with shaping your free edge like I was, definitely give those a try. I'll put them in the link or in the description down below with the link so you guys can check them out. Otherwise, I am taking my carbide bit just to blend in that nail tip a little bit better, and then I go in with a sanding band for an even closer blend. And then after that, I take some acetone on a brush and I'll just start going over that blend that I'm trying to create. Unfortunately, I did forget to include that part. So that's why I'm letting you know right now that I do take acetone in a brush and I go over that blending line even more. That way you don't see it when I put the gel polish over. Here's what your nails should be looking like after you've blended the tips and shaped the free edge. So now we can get into the nail design. For this design, you're gonna need 2 jelly polishes. The ones that I'm using are by Goy. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Gaoy. They're from Amazon. And then I went in with Après Fairy Wings for my base color for my French, a little bit of black for the turquoise, and then some white gel polish to outline the French. So I started by taking Fairy Wings gel polish by Après and making the base for my French. If you notice though, I'm doing it a little bit weird and I outline the base of the French rather than just put the entire gel polish over the entire nail. And the reason I did that is because I needed the shade of the turquoise design to be the same for every single nail. Had I applied the Après gel polish to the entire nail, then it would have messed up the shade of the turquoise design from one nail to the other, because you got to remember we're using gel polish and not gel polish. I mean, we are, but we're using jelly gel polish, and the jelly polish is so sheer that you would see the difference in the shade from my French turquoise design on my index finger to the other nails. So doing the French this way will just ensure that the shade of the turquoise design is the same for every single nail. I also want to bring up those cleanup brushes that you just saw me using. I mention them in every video because, like I said, I've never used a cleanup brush before, and it's such a game changer for me because when I mess up the design, I can easily clean it up near the cuticle. One thing that I always try to do is just use a normal art brush to clean up the cuticle when the gel polish flooded in, but the cleanup brush is specifically designed to get right into that crevice or that fold of the cuticle without actually messing up the polish from the nail. So don't be like me and struggle for years and years trying to clean up the cuticle mess from the gel polish, and just do yourself a favor and invest in a cleanup brush. After I apply 2 coats of the Après Fairy Wings gel polish, I go in with the Jelly gel polish in the shade 2057 and 2056. So I take this first shade right here and I just start applying it anywhere that there isn't the Après gel polish. And this is what I mean by making sure that the shade was going to be even throughout, because had I applied the nude color, the shade would just be off and it wouldn't look the same. So I applied 2 coats of this color right here. One thing I would do differently though is just go ahead and apply 1 coat, because I feel like you would have been able to see the turquoise design a little bit better and clearer. So if you're looking for more of a lighter shade of turquoise, absolutely just do 1 coat. The other cool thing about this jelly set that I just bought is that they come in a pack of 6 and every single shade is absolutely gorgeous and perfect for fall. The only reason that I use these 2 shades in particular was because to me they were perfect for this design. But with the fall holidays coming around, I will absolutely be using the other remaining shades because they are so pretty. It's like the most popular shades for fall. So make sure to check these out and stock up on all of your fall nail art necessities now before Amazon or any other brand out there basically tells you that they're on back order and can't get your art out for weeks. So here's what the nails are looking like so far with 2 coats each of jelly polish. They were so pretty. I was loving them right here. But now we can start the actual tortoise design. So what I did was take blooming gel and I applied it to all of the orangey parts of the nail. You don't need to apply it all over the nail, just the parts that are going to get the tortoise design, and you want to do this one nail at a time. Don't try and do every single nail at once because the blooming gel will cause the polish to spurse out way too fast by the time you finish all your nails. Next, I took the Goy Jelly Polish in the shade 2056 since it was a darker shade, and I just started blobbing that everywhere on top of the blooming gel. Now, another thing I want to mention is that you're not supposed to cure the blooming gel. You put the blooming gel on the nail, leave it alone, and then while it's still wet, start putting the other shade on it and let that shade spurse out because you want this one to be the bigger pattern on the tortoise nail. You'll go in with a smaller pattern in black just to make it more defined, but this is going to be the bigger part of the pattern, if that makes sense. Another thing that I want to recommend though that I would do differently is you don't necessarily have to use a jelly polish for this part. You can absolutely use like a light brown or a brown that's close to this shade, but not in a jelly form, because I had to go in again and redefine all of these brown spots that I'm creating because I felt like the jelly was just too sheer and it wasn't picking up well enough. So you'll see me do that in a second where I don't even apply blooming gel again. I just go over with that jelly polish and start tracing over those dots that I created because I felt like it was too sheer. Also, you want to be careful and mindful about how much you're blobbing on because some parts of the nail, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm still going to be vulnerable right now and point out the flaw. Some parts of the nail are a little bit bulgy and bulky, and that could have been avoidable if maybe I had used a dotting tool or even just less product on my brush. So be mindful of that when you're doing this design. Now, after I redefined those brown spots, I took some more blooming gel and I started going over those spots with black gel polish. Now, you don't have to go over the exact same brown spot with the black gel polish. You can absolutely go off to the side a little bit so that it makes it look a little more defined, because if you go over the exact same brown spot, you're not even going to recognize the tortoise design. You'll just have a bunch of dark black spots everywhere. So try to go off to the side just a little bit. Now, the very last thing that I did to complete the look is add my white French lines. So this is the trickier part of the nail design. So I am gonna offer some tips and tricks here just to make this process a little bit easier for you guys. So for the nails that already have a French design on them, those are gonna be a little bit easier because all you have to do is trace out the French line, right? The trickier part comes into play on the middle finger and the pinky where there's no outline of a French design. So for those nails, one thing that you're gonna do is matte top coat the entire design. Anytime you're iffy about going to the next step because you feel like you'll probably mess up that next step and then you'll have to redo the entire design, just matte top coat what you have done already, and then you can start the next trickier part. Because if you do mess up, you can just take a lint-free wipe and some acetone and wipe the whole design clean without ruining what you already have. Another thing that I'm going to recommend is an angled cleanup brush. Now, the cleanup brushes that I have come in a pack of 3, so an angled cleanup brush is included. And because of the angle, it's gonna make it easier to clean up the French design rather than a normal thick type of cleanup brush or a round cleanup brush, because the angle sort of follows the line of the French. The last thing that I'm gonna recommend, and this one's probably the most beneficial, and it's gonna sound crazy because I've never seen anybody do it before, but this is how I used to practice my French lines. You are going to put connecting dots on your nail, not just where you want the ends of the French line to meet, not just that one dot. You are literally going to dot out in tiny little dots with your nail art brush the line of the French, because it's so much easier to just, oh, that dot doesn't look even, or it's not going to line up the way that I want it, and you just wipe away the little dot and you keep moving. And by the end of the dots, you'll probably have at least a total of maybe 4. I gotta do a video on this so you guys can really see what I'm talking about. But you'll do a dot where you want the French to end. You'll do a dot by the sidewall where you want the French to begin near your cuticle, and then you do a dot in between that. That way you just connect those 3 dots on each side, and it's so much easier to follow that line than to just try to do a French line off the top of your head. I know that that sounds weird, so I'm definitely gonna try and make a short explaining exactly what I'm talking about, because once you see it, you're gonna be like, oh, I get it. And that's how I learned how to do a French, because eventually you just keep tracing those same dots over and over and over again that it becomes second nature and you won't even need the dots anymore. After that, I top coated everything, and this was the final look. Trust me, once you take these nails out into the sun, they look absolutely gorgeous with the jelly polish. So thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to upload the next video for you guys because I have a bunch of Halloween designs coming up and I'm so excited. So I'll see you guys in the next video.